Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Echo Your English. Today, I want to share something a little more personal, something that comes straight from my own experience. The story of how I learned another language, and how that journey slowly changed the way I see communication, confidence, and even myself. I think stories teach us better than lectures ever can, because when we hear a real experience, we not only understand the words, we feel the meaning behind them. So let me take you back to the time when I first decided to learn a new language. I remember sitting at my desk late one evening, scrolling through videos and reading articles, feeling this strange mix of excitement and fear. You might know that feeling, when you want something so badly but you're scared of failing. I kept thinking, what if I never sound natural? What if people laugh? What if I understand nothing? And at the same time, another voice inside me whispered, but what if? What if you actually can do it? In the beginning, everything was confusing. I listened to people speak, and all the words blended together like one long, fast song. I couldn't tell where one sentence ended or where the next one started. I remember hearing a phrase that everyone used, but I had no idea what it meant. They said it so quickly that I thought it was one word. Later, I discovered it was actually three separate words. I still laugh when I think about how I wrote it in my notebook as one strange, invented word. But here's something important I learned. Confusion is not a sign of failure. Confusion is a sign of learning. When your brain feels lost, it means your brain is working. It's adjusting, it's stretching, it's preparing to understand something new. At the time, I didn't realize this, so I felt frustrated. I felt slow. I kept comparing myself to others who seemed so confident and fluent. One evening, I had a small breakthrough. I was listening to a simple conversation, and suddenly, for just one moment, I understood an entire sentence without translating it. It was a tiny moment, maybe 1 second, but that second changed everything. It felt like a door opened, just a little crack, and behind it, there was light. That tiny moment of understanding gave me a kind of quiet confidence. Not the loud kind that makes you feel like you can conquer the world. No, this was softer, almost like a whisper saying, "See, you're getting there. Keep going." And honestly, that's all I needed. Sometimes progress in language learning doesn't come as a big jump. It comes as small lights in the dark, little moments where things finally make sense. As the weeks passed, I started noticing these small lights more often. A word here, a phrase there. And I realized something beautiful. You don't need to understand everything to be a learner. You just need to understand a little more than yesterday. That's it. That's the real journey. But even with progress, there were days when I felt completely stuck. I remember one day in particular, I was trying to speak to someone, and my mind went completely blank. Every word I had learned, every sentence I had practiced, all of it just disappeared. I stood there frozen, searching for the simplest phrase, and nothing came. The silence felt heavy. My cheeks got hot. I wanted to disappear. Afterward, I felt embarrassed, and I told myself, maybe I'm just not good at languages. Maybe this isn't for me. But then, later that night, I remembered something a friend once told me. If you don't make mistakes, you don't make progress. And I realized I had been so focused on sounding perfect that I forgot what learning really looks like. Learning is messy. It's uncomfortable. It's full of mistakes that you don't want anyone to see. But without those awkward moments, you never open the door to real improvement. Slowly, I began to see mistakes differently. Instead of feeling ashamed, I tried to feel curious. I asked myself, why did my mind freeze? What made that moment scary? And what can I do next time? That simple shift from fear to curiosity changed everything for me. Because when you're curious, you stop worrying about being perfect. You start focusing on understanding, communicating, connecting. And that's when I discovered the real secret. Confidence isn't something you get before you speak. Confidence is something you build by speaking, even when your voice is shaky. As time passed, I began to develop little habits that made my learning feel lighter and more enjoyable. Instead of studying only from books, I started listening to simple stories, short podcasts, and everyday conversations. I noticed that when I listened without pressure, when I wasn't trying to catch every single word, my understanding actually improved faster. It was like my brain finally relaxed and said, "Okay, let's just enjoy this." And when the pressure disappeared, the learning became natural. One of the most surprising things I learned during that time was how emotional language learning can be. Language isn't only about grammar or vocabulary. It's about identity, connection, courage, and patience. There were days when I felt proud and strong, and there were days when I felt tired and insecure. Sometimes a single difficult conversation could make me doubt myself for hours. But then, a simple success, like understanding a joke or answering a question without hesitation, would lift me up again. To be honest, those emotional waves taught me just as much as the language itself. I learned to be kinder to myself. I learned to celebrate small victories. I learned that progress is not a straight line. It rises and falls. But every fall brings a chance to rise again with more understanding, more clarity, and more strength. I also learned the importance of listening, truly listening. When I started paying attention to rhythm, tone, pauses, and natural expressions, the language began to sound different to me. I could feel it more than analyze it. I realized that languages are like music. You don't learn music by memorizing notes one by one. You learn by hearing the melody, feeling the rhythm, repeating what you hear, and letting it become part of you. And that's when something shifted. I stopped translating in my mind. I stopped chasing perfection. I stopped trying to sound smart, and instead, I focused on sounding human, simple, clear, honest. And that's the moment when I truly began to feel comfortable. Not perfect, never perfect, but comfortable. That comfort didn't happen overnight. It grew slowly through many small attempts, many little conversations, many silent moments where I listened more than I spoke. But eventually, speaking the new language began to feel like walking through a familiar street, not because I knew every corner, but because I wasn't afraid of getting lost anymore. And finally, after months of practice, mistakes, tiny victories, and many moments of wanting to give up, something unexpected happened. One day, I found myself speaking without planning every word. I wasn't rehearsing sentences in my mind. I wasn't correcting myself every second. I was just talking, naturally, simply, comfortably. The conversation wasn't perfect, but it was real. And when it ended, I remember feeling this warm rush inside me. The feeling of, I can actually do this. What I realized that day is something I want you to remember too. Fluency isn't a moment. It's not a single event. There's no magical day when you wake up and suddenly become fluent. Fluency is a feeling that grows in you, slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. It grows every time you listen, every time you repeat, every time you make a mistake and keep going anyway. It grows every time you choose courage over fear. Looking back, I see that I didn't become fluent because I studied the hardest or because I memorized the most vocabulary. I became fluent because I stayed with the language long enough to let it become a part of my life. I listened to it when I was tired. I spoke it when I was scared. I practiced it when I didn't feel ready. Fluency came from patience, not perfection, from consistency, not pressure, from curiosity, not fear. And this, my friend, is what I want you to take from my story. Your English journey will look different from mine, but the emotions will be similar. You will feel lost sometimes. You will freeze sometimes. You will misunderstand, forget, mix up words, and repeat the same mistakes again and again. But none of that means you're failing. It means you're learning. It means you're alive in the language. Every minute you spend listening, every sentence you try to say, every moment you keep going, these are the steps. These are the bricks that build your confidence. And trust me, one day, just like it happened to me, you will feel that quiet shift inside you. You will speak without thinking too much. You will understand without translating. You will communicate with more ease than you ever expected. And when that day comes, you will look back and realize that every hard moment was worth it. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this story made you feel a little more hopeful, a little more connected, or a little more confident in your English journey, then I'm truly happy. Keep listening, keep shadowing, keep growing with me here. And if you enjoy these gentle, human-style English videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new episode.